Dominic Savio was born on April 2, 1842 in the village of Riva in northern Italy. His father was a blacksmith and his mother a seamstress. He had 9 brothers and sisters. His family was poor but hard-working. They were devout and pious Catholics. When he was only 2 years old, his family moved back to their hometown of Castelluovo d'Asti, now known as Castelluovo Don Bosco, which is close to where Don Bosco was born. Bosco was later to be canonized by the church as a saint and became a major influence on the life of Dominic. Dominic had a strong love for the Lord and the church from a young age. He was a great believer in the sacraments. For instance, he said grace before every meal and refused to eat with those who did not. He was always quick to encourage others to pray. Dominic attended church frequently together with his mother and changed into regularly seen kneeling earlier than the tabernacle in prayer. He even prayed outside the church constructing. It did no longer depend to Dominic if the floor changed into covered with mud or snow, he knelt and prayed besides. Dominic was promptly acknowledged as an outstanding student, known for his diligence and academic achievements. He also served as an altar server and faithfully attended daily mass, regularly confessing his sins. At the young age of 7, he requested to receive his first communion, which was not customary in the Italian church during that time. Typically, children received their first Holy Communion at 12 years old. However, Dominic's intelligence left a lasting impression on his priest. Dominic said that the day of his first communion was the happiest day of his life. On the day he received his first communion, Dominic wrote 4 promises in a little book. Those promises were, I intend to regularly attend confession and receive Holy Communion as often as my confessor deems appropriate. It is my desire to particularly honor Sundays and religious holidays. My companions shall be Jesus and Mary, and I am willing to choose death over committing a sin. The young Dominic graduated to secondary school and walked 3 miles to school each day. He undertook this chore gladly. While walking to school on a hot day, a farmer asked why he wasn't yet tired. Dominic cheerfully replied, nothing seems tiresome or painful when you are working for a master who pays well. Although he was young, Dominic was clearly different than his peers. When 2 boys stuffed a school heating stove with snow and rubbish. The boys were known troublemakers and were likely to face expulsion if caught, so they blamed Dominic for the misdeed. Dominic did not deny the accusation and he was scolded before the class. However, a day later the teacher learned the truth. He asked Dominic why he did not defend himself while being scolded for something he did not do. Dominic mentioned he was imitating Jesus, who remained silent when unjustly accused. Dominic's teacher spoke well of him and brought him to the attention of Father Don Bosco, who was renowned for looking after hundreds of boys, many of them orphaned and poor. In October 1854, Dominic was personally introduced to Father Bosco, along with his father. At the meeting, Bosco wanted to test Dominic's intelligence and understanding of the Catholic faith. He gave Dominic a copy of the Catholic Readings, which was a pamphlet that dealt with apologetics. He expected Dominic to provide a report the next day, but just 10 minutes later Dominic recited the text and provided a full explanation of its significance. This solidified Bosco's high opinion of Dominic. Dominic expressed an interest in becoming a priest and asked to go to Turin to attend the oratory of St. Francis de Sales. Father Bosco agreed to take him. At the oratory, Dominic studied directly under Father Bosco. He worked diligently and always asked questions when he did not understand something. He renewed his first communion promises that he wrote in his little book at the age of 7. After 6 months at the oratory, Dominic delivered a speech on the path to sainthood. In his speech, he made 3 outstanding points. It is God's will that we all become saints, it is easy to become a saint, and there are great rewards in heaven for saints. Dominic's desire to become a saint troubled him, however. He wondered to himself how someone as young as he was could become a saint. In his zeal, he tried voluntary mortification and other voluntary penances, hoping that they would help him to grow closer to Jesus and help him to be less concerned with his own needs. He even made his bed uncomfortable and wore thin clothes in winter. When Father Bosco observed these practices, he corrected Dominic. He explained that as a child, what he should do instead was to devote himself to his studies and to be cheerful. He discouraged Dominic from any more physical penances. Dominic's happy demeanor quickly returned. At the same time Dominic was developing his reputation as a fantastic student, his health began to fail. He started to lose his appetite and Father Bosco became concerned. Dominic was taken to the doctor, who recommended that he be sent home to his family to recover. Dominic wanted to stay at the oratory, but Father Bosco insisted he go home. Everybody expected Dominic to recover, except for Dominic himself, who insisted he was dying. Before he departed, Dominic made the exercise of a happy death and predicted this would be his final devotion. After 4 days at home, Dominic's health worsened. The doctor ordered him to bed to rest. He then performed bloodletting, which was still performed at that time. Over the next 4 days, Dominic was bled 10 times before the doctor was satisfied he would recover. But Dominic was sure of his impending death. He implored his parents to bring the parish priest so he could make a last confession. They obliged him, and Dominic made a confession and was given the anointing of the sick. He asked his father to read him the prayers for the exercise of a happy death. Then he fell asleep. Hours later he awoke and said to his father, "Goodbye, Dad, goodbye. Oh, what wonderful things I see." Dominic fell asleep and died within minutes. It was March 9, 1857, and Dominic was merely 14 years of age. His father wrote to Father Bosco to report the sad news. Father Bosco was powerfully touched by Dominic, and he wrote a biography, The Life of Dominic Savio. The biography quickly became popular and would eventually be read in schools across Italy. As people learned about Dominic, they called for his canonization. Detractors argued that Dominic was too young to be canonized and pointed out that he was not a martyr. However, Pope Pius X disagreed and opened his cause for canonization.